This is JD Vance on why most of the polls are political and fake. I'm John Mike Keene.
The same people who put those public opinion polls together are the same people who say, for example, that Donald Trump was going to lose Wisconsin by 17 points. Remember that? 3 days before the 2020 election, Donald Trump was supposed to lose Wisconsin by 17 points. And set to the side all of the debates about what happened in 2020, Wisconsin was basically a tied election. So these guys use public polls, they use the media, not even just to manipulate public opinion, but to manipulate our leadership about what public opinion actually says.
So how does that happen? So those polls are fake, is what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely, they're fake.
He is right that polls are used to create public opinion instead of reflect public opinion.
A friend of mine, I think, is the best pollster in America. Every race I've ever seen him poll, he's way better than anybody else, okay? So good pollster versus a standard media pollster. Tony Fabrizio, great guy. He's the president's pollster. Okay. Take a standard media poll and ask yourself, like, what are they doing? Those polls are all conducted by what's called online panels. In other words, they have a group of people that they go to again and again and again. They ask their opinion. Well,
a lot of the bigger professional polling companies have to have a reliable group of people that will respond to their poll. It might be 100 people, it might be 500 people, it might be 1,000 people that are like professional people that you ask them questions of, okay? They have to show up. And so that's what's skewing the votes, is because they're not going out and getting just any old person to respond. It's very hard to get people to respond to a poll in the first place. People tend to hang up, especially on the right.
Who are the people who are going to respond aggressively to online panels about what they feel about every issue of the day? A bunch of highly engaged, typically far left, typically people with professional degrees, people who are not representative of the American people at large, right?
Yeah, I know how hard it is to get people to answer a poll, especially on the left. That's why I want you guys to respond right now in the comments below.
Meanwhile, most Americans are trying to pay their mortgage and trying to take care of their kids and trying to do all the things that are necessary to live a life in this country. And they're not answering the phone when a pollster picks up. So if you actually look at the good pollsters, they're telling you a radically different story because they're talking to a representative sample of the United States.
And so the closer you get to the actual real people in the United States, the farther to the right it leans. And that's why Trump always outperforms his polling.
This is not primarily to manipulate the American people, I think. I think it's to manipulate us, meaning elected officials. Because I've sat in lunches with a number of my colleagues who will say, look at this poll and look how Americans are responding to this or that issue. And then you realize that that exact same poll was wildly inaccurate 2 years ago. Why are you making your judgments about what the American people believe based on some poll? And oh, by the way, why don't you express some leadership?
This is also how I feel about the pro-life issue, where they kept talking about the polls, how popular is it, and really what we need is leadership on the issue to do what's right.
Why don't you just actually have a view and go to the American people and try to persuade them that your view is wise and then enact legislation in accordance with that wisdom, right?
That would be leadership. We don't do that anymore. You know, where's that at?
And you read a story that says he's down by 17 points in Wisconsin. Why even show up? Right? So there's a voter suppression dynamic here where you try to get people to get depressed and to drop out of the democratic process. Don't even go and vote if the president is down by so much. The purpose of these polls is actually manipulation of both the public themselves, but also, of course, elected officials.
This message goes out to my blue state people who live in a blue state like California or New York. They think you're not going to show up and vote for Trump just because he's going to be so far behind. I want you to show them, blow them out of the water. Don't listen to the polls. For Trump, I'm John Mike Keene.